Whoa, talk about subtle foreshadowing. This episode was just that. And it was so beautiful and so well constructed. And I really, really loved it. I think Patti LuPone has proven that she not only is an amazing stage actress, but she is a amazing just presence in any medium. And she really knows how to work that camera. Like this character, it didn't feel like Patti LuPone. It felt like Lilia, and I was so emotionally invested that made my heart break a little bit when she died at the end. But it was also sort of a happy thing because she was able to kind of have this full circle moment where she's been living out of time for so long, and she hasn't been able to control it as of late. But now that she sees the full picture, and goes back to the beginning and the end of this episode, it's a very bittersweet full circle moment that I really do think makes this character just instantly memorable in the Marvel canon. And there's a lot of characters, but there's something very special about her. It almost makes me wish that she hadn't been killed off, but I get how it was essential to show this journey, to show also the fact that for so long women are pitted against each other, and she lost her coven. She was trying to protect them, but she couldn't. And so to have this moment at the end where she's found a new coven after centuries of being alone, and then she's able to save them, that is so big, so major. Absolutely loved her journey. But we also did get a lot of really good, you know, not, I wouldn't say any major surprises, but we got confirmation on a lot of things that we kind of already suspected. Big thing, Rio is death. That's confirmed. Did you see? I did not see that coming. I mind blown. But the reveal was really cool. Like her costume, obviously she's not very comics accurate. Aubrey Plaza is a human with flesh, right? And death is death in the comics, but they kind of had that mask inspiration, skull mask, and I think that was great. One of the best villain costumes in the MCU, which I know is not saying a whole lot, but I think it's like instantly iconic. And people have about a week to get that costume ready for Halloween because I know some people are going to be dressed as that. But yeah, very exciting implications. I hope that Aubrey Plaza and Death, the character, make it past this show, because I think that there's so many ways that you can go about it. I mean, literally, Death is something that everyone has in common. So you can put her in everywhere. She has had a relationship with Thanos, a very famous relationship with Thanos. She also has a relationship with Deadpool, now Agatha, and so I think that she's down to meet a bunch of Avengers, and I think she's already met a couple of them. So, yeah, very excited about that. We also got some development on Billy and his own journey. I mentioned last week that I felt it was a little weird to have Billy Maximoff and William Kaplan's body. It felt weird to me. But now we're getting that he's not quite sure which of the two he is. And so I think that kind of makes it a little bit more of, he's probably both combined. And I think that makes more sense to me and it feels less icky. Billy reacts very strongly when Agatha calls the Scarlet Witch his mom, which I know will upset a lot of, Wanda fans from like the MCU. But as a comic fan, like this is pretty accurate, and he does eventually come around. Don't worry, this is all about that journey. But yeah, because in his point of view, his mom is the person who birthed him, or this body of him. But also, if you think about it within the MCU, it also makes total sense because he knew Wanda for about like a week or two, or maybe a couple of days. I don't remember what the timeline for that was. But he's been in this family for 3 years. So it's very clear that you're going to develop stronger connections to that. Also, he doesn't really remember what happened in the past. So there's that. He asked about Wanda, if she's still alive, to Agatha. And Agatha gives us a response that we all been wanting, that she's not sure. She could be not. But she also gives us one of the most instantly iconic quotes, and that is, if you want straight answers, ask a straight lady. I mean, when she says that, I wrote it down immediately because I knew that was going to be the quote. That was going to be the one quote. If there's one quote from this episode that gets like blasted across the internet, it's going to be that quote. And sure enough, you saw this morning a bunch of tweets about it. So that's very exciting. And yeah, I think it was also interesting kind of talking a little bit about Agatha and Billy's conversation is that you see Agatha kind of revert back into herself and put that guard up, be a little bit more sassy, be a little more of your traditional villain. And I think that that is such an interesting choice, um, because we've seen a lot of her humanity, and now that she doesn't feel like she feels like she exposed a little bit too much of herself, she's like reverting back into herself, which I think is a very interesting journey, and I can't wait to see what the last 2 episodes do, because I think it's pretty clear now that they're barreling towards a confrontation between Agatha and Death, aka Rio, aka Aubrey Plaza, and I think that that's going to be really interesting. You have Lilia at the end saying to Agatha that when she calls you a coward, hit the deck. That is something that I'm going to be remembering, and that I think everyone should remember when watching the last 2 episodes next week. But yeah, that's going to be a very interesting confrontation, and I hope that they resolve their issues, right, without any of them dying. Again, I'm still kind of scared that they're going to kill Agatha. I'm scared that they're going to kill everyone except for Billy, and maybe Jennifer. I think that Jennifer, in this episode, there was a lot of Lilia saw a lot of potential in her and saw her as like the future, and she tells her that, and so I think that there's a chance that she might be kind of the leader of this corner of the MCU. We'll see if we ever get to see this corner of the MCU again. I hope so, and I hope quickly, because I love this corner. It might be one of my favorite corners of the MCU. But again, Marvel is notorious for introducing really cool concepts, and then their dance card is so full that they can't really explore any of them further, which is a little disappointing. But this episode was actually, I think it was one of the best things that the MCU has produced, the best episode of television that they've produced. And I think that it's such an interesting structure to see it from Lilia's perspective, how she sees gaps in the story, and then she's kind of reverting, filling them in again as the story progresses. I thought that was really cool, really interesting. And her own journey as someone who can see the future, who lives out of time, is not to try to control things, not to try to stop things that are inevitable, but just to see it, and to, it's just like a beautiful relationship with time. And I think it's so poignant in a lot of the struggles that we have today, where we struggle to gain control over things, but there are so many things that are out of our control. And also highlights the importance of having coven, having a group of friends, having family that help you travel this world so you're not so alone. And I think that that's something that Lilia learns throughout this episode, throughout her entire life. And when she says at the end to Jennifer that she loved being a witch, my heart just like broke. Oh my goodness, Lilia, you're such a beautiful person, and I am so sad that you're gone. But again, that ending when she flipped the tower and everything went in slow motion and was falling backwards, beautifully shot. Jack Schaefer directed this episode. She directed the hell out of this episode. Not only was it visually stunning, but also the references to like timeless villains was super well done. I think obviously the one who looked the best was Billy Maximoff, or William Kaplan, or whoever you want to call him, as Maleficent. I think if the cheekbones fit, you know? And so, yeah, he really nailed that look. Agatha as the Wicked Witch. You got Jennifer Kale as the witch from Snow White, the evil little witch. And then you got Lilia as Glinda, the Good Witch. And I think that it was very... Not only was that fitting in particular, but I think the timeless nature of these villains and the timeless nature of Lilia was a really nice little connection there. I did for a second. I was like, oh, Once Upon a Time is back. Good enough. Because their costumes did resemble a little bit of that Once Upon a Time vibe, which is another Disney show. But yeah, I really like this episode. I think that there was a lot of growth, and we got a lot of confirmation of things we already knew. But this is a good thing, I think, because now those won't be the big surprises in the last 2 episodes. Now that we know everything that we have thought of and suspected is pretty much confirmed up until this point. So what else is there to know in the last 2 episodes? I think that's going to be really exciting, and I cannot wait to talk about it. Two whole episodes next week. So excited. But yeah, those were my thoughts on Agatha All Along, episode 7. Did you see it? Did you like it? What did you like about it? Did I miss anything? And also, how psyched are you for the last 2 episodes? I would love to hear your thoughts down below.